Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. This is episode 30, February 9th, Super Bowl Sunday. I've taken a couple of days off out of concern. The family said I was on the mend, but trying to jump back in too fast. So took a couple of days off, and there was so much going on in the news. You just can't keep up with it. It's that fluid. But today, we're going to discuss court takes on Trump's executive orders, the buyout fight, the DOGE fight. Vough is confirmed for the Office of Budget and Management. Also, Pam Bundy got in this week, and a lot of other people. DEI madness. More DOGE. DOGE. I know I call it DOGE because they're all trying to dodge it, but DOGE, I get it. Don't get upset with me. And then I have something on a totally different subject. ICE and the media, and the media getting reshuffled. I called it booted out of the Pentagon. And in the item 8, I will also discuss in there my alma mater and the media with politics. So, from NBC News. Now, this is a couple of days ago, and this I'm all merging it together as I go forward. So some of this has changed a bit. And of course, court slams the brakes on Trump's orders. The flood of orders, that much is correct, and I will say that is a correct usage of the term flood. Led to over 24 lawsuits, and at least temporarily has halted some of Trump's actions, which we all knew was going to happen. The way it really works is the minute you go to, in this case, it has to be federal court, and the states can go there and file a petition to the court or a motion to say, hey, we want this halted. Not, it won't. They're going to challenge the validity of his action, and while that's going on, the courts 99% of the time go, all right, all parties stop. What Trump is doing has to get halted until we can take a look at this. NBC using the word slamming the brakes on, and this is why I do this vlog and podcast. No, they're not slamming the brakes on. What they're doing in the states are exercising their rights. And it's not slamming the brakes on. It's just seeing if the vehicle, which is his executive orders, are in lane. And the guardrails for that road are the courts. So, there's a lot going on that will go up to the courts and the robes. And that will happen very quickly. There's no doubt in my mind that will not take place extremely quickly. Sorry about this. I'm wondering why I can't hear myself. So there we go. And so part of the court orders was not the buyout themselves. There's unions are taking that road that the government can't offer the buyout, or Trump isn't authorized to make those buyout offers. And I'm going to tell you right now, he can't. He might. There might be some consideration on the time frame of those, but since he's offering it to everyone on the same time frame, I don't think he's doing anything wrong. Most buyouts, when they're offered in the private sector, are anywhere from 10 days to 30 days. You have to make a decision, so because the company has to know what their reduction is and exactly the dollar amount that's going to be affected. So this is all going to end up to be settled very quickly in the courts. And so a lot of people understand if you I saw a lot about the 11th Amendment, which has to do with states and who can sue and what is the mechanism for that. And that goes back to like 1795, folks. But the bottom line is that the government can cancel any contract, federal contract that they have, for any reason, including their convenience. So I think it's going to be a hard press for the unions. I don't think that Trump will win the idea that he can halt a contract that was signed 30 days before he took office, by Biden or whoever the management office. It doesn't. See, everyone thinks it goes to the president. It doesn't. It's part of that office and budget and management, and that's why that's such an important position, because that is the keeper of the purse. And I think he will have a problem because the government that was in charge at that time acted perfectly legally and correct in having the power and the ability to accept a contract. So that will be an interesting. I'd be interested to see how that turns out, though I'm pretty certain that he won't win that one. Coffee. My congestion is pretty good. My voice is pretty good, so I'm happy with that. Haven't been too ill. I'm going to keep each page out here so I know what the next topic. So we're going to go back and forth, and some of these are all intertwined, much like Biden did. Where DOGE, DOGE, where they're finding that Elon Musk doesn't have the authority. He's a government employee now. And if the offices where he is investigating, and I don't even know if it's investigating rather than evaluating. So I would have used the word evaluate, because evaluate just means you're looking at the information there. I do not believe that he needs any type of special security clearance to look at that data. It's out there. There's nothing secret about it. He's not looking at names and addresses and writing them down. He's looking at how the payments were made. Were they authorized? And did they go to the right parties? And he's not looking at Medicare Medicaid, unless he sees something that during his evaluation goes, I need more information to do this. Elizabeth Warren called him meddling. And I said this before. Accountability is not meddling. Asking for accountability. Now, the argument can be made by the other side that we have a process if you want to argue that. We didn't need this. But that's having the, fox run the hen house. So if I was doing something wrong and you asked me, hey, is there anything wrong with what you're doing over here? No, it's wonderful, great. And the other person just goes, oh, okay, yeah. Well, it doesn't work that way, folks. In the real world, that does not happen. So, the fact of the matter that is, if the Office of Budget Management goes, I authorize Musk to go in there and evaluate, investigate, but I would say the only thing he doesn't have the power to do is act upon. Observe and report. And then the Office of Budget Management would then take it to the Department of Justice for an investigation. So I think that is where a lot of people are looking at this and going, you can do it, but you're not doing it right. Since it's never really been done before, it's hard to know what's right and wrong. There are policies and procedures in place. So I think the powers that be will end up figuring out how to make this work. The big thing with buyouts, where they're saying the suit on private issues with DOGE is, it really is a joke. The data is the government, and it's the government looking at its own data. So there isn't a privacy issue. There isn't a conflict of interests. This is a government agency. Well, okay, let me back up there. DOGE was was the Department of Digital Services, so it really is a entity, and it's just got a new renaming. So, this is one government agency looking at another government agency, and if they have the permission of those department heads or directors or secretaries as appointed by Trump and confirmed by the Senate, and if he or she gives their thumbs up that that person can act in their stay to look, guess what, folks? You ain't going to win that in court because they are authorized. Some of the ridiculous statements, like Kane out of Virginia, Democrat, of course, stated that for the buyout that Trump won't pay them. He doesn't have the money to do it. Well, it's not coming from Trump. It's going to be money from the government. And for him to say that is one of the most, and I sorry, it's thinking that he's speaking to people that are uneducated in the process. They accept an offer the government has made. Yeah. unless Congress turns around somehow and says you can't do that, and they step in, or or even the courts step in and go, you can't do that. Uh, in the end, the buyouts will be approved, and the government will pay them out. Now, the idea of birthright citizenship. I said this 14. I've been saying it since the day I started these blogs and podcasts and vlogs. Is that this will be a toe-to-toe fight, right up to the ropes. Federal judges, the way this really works is, think of it as a step. And you have to climb each step. But just because a federal judge goes, you can't do that, doesn't mean that you go all the way back down the stairs and that's it. You can't fight it. No, it just means now you take it up the next step in the chain of challenging it. And eventually it gets to the Supreme Court. And I am certain this will get fast-tracked. Trump's position is that people born here to illegals, both parties being illegals, mommy and daddy, you don't have birthrights. So, and you don't get those protections under the 14th Amendment as such, as stated. And I think Trump has a pretty good case on that. I think it's going to be very hard for the Democrats to win that case. It might go 5-4. It might be that close. But in the end, it will be won. And it's key. He wouldn't be charging as hard as he is if he wasn't being told that this can't happen. Now, with the lawsuit on the pause, and they call it a pause in the payment, and in reality, what Trump is trying to do is eliminate USA, all these NGOs and other money giveaway portals. And, of course, Congress approves that money. Now, there's a process to reclaim that money. Trump has to... It should have followed a course instead of just an edict. And you know how I feel about executive orders. Any president. It bypasses Congress, and that becomes a problem. It rubs really against the democracy. But like I said, they're screaming about how many executive orders Trump, wrote or has written so far. Look at Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I think it was 3,271 executive orders he wrote. So this is nothing new, folks. Do your history, go back, look at numbers, look at what other presidents have done and how the Supreme Court has ruled in certain cases. And you'll get a pretty good idea on whether or not something gets kicked back by the... So, a lot of people are fighting. Some Republicans are quietly upset that the money has stopped flowing to their states. Red states got money too. But I think most of the issues with the money is overseas. And inside here is LGBTQ, DEI, and things that have no no real place. That it doesn't serve the majority of the people it's meant to serve. When I say that, when I say that, I'm saying that the citizens, not a particular group, and that's what this was about. It was not meant to be so someone could have a dance studio or have a program, a show. This was always this has always been a problem since it started, and really when it started in the 1960s by Kennedy, it was meant to overthrow governments. This was dark money going in and being used to overthrow governments that we didn't like. Don't believe me? Look it up. And of course, people saying that it's a bad thing. Like the only Democrat that was sitting on, I think her name was Val Hoyle, out of Oregon, and she has since left the DOGE committee. Because she said that they're not following, the standard rules and stuff. And she could be right, but wouldn't you fight it even more then? Why would you leave it? Wouldn't you be that lone voice just trying to chip away? And I'm telling you why she left it. Because she would be stuck there going, yeah, there's fraud, and yeah, that Democrat, they signed off on all that. And she wasn't going to do that. And Elizabeth Warren and, others complaining and, people saying that it's like trying to replace your roof when someone is throwing dynamite through the window into your living room. No, it's called accountability. We have a right to know where our money's going and how it's being spent. Now, granted, you can do that. There is accountability for you to look at that. And if you read the reports out of Congress and, no one has time for that. We should, but we don't. We're busy with our lives, and we put people in charge there to make sure that, if I can't look at it, your job is to look at it. Warren and all these people that are complaining, Wyden, all of them, they know what's coming. And we're not stopping. The Democrats spoke about being woke. Well, we're woke. Just not the way you thought we'd wake up and get out of bed. So, it's about accountability. The Democrats are scared, and they should be scared. Because a lot of the programs in the last 4 years have just been crazy world. And when Trump was in charge, he stopped a lot of that. And you go back all the way back into Obama. That's why he was stopping it. I think I think people are going to go, yeah, this had to stop. Should they be using our tax dollars for DEI when we have EEOC and we have laws on the book that address a lot of these things? Do we need to spend billions, not millions, billions, on DEI and LGBTQ ceremonies education, that money going for so they can come into our schools. Look at our schools. And you tell me if that's a good use of our money. All right? The Schumers, the Ratskins, the Sanders, the Warrens, and a lot of others are using a script that America knows is no longer valid. So, it's over, folks. This is not ending. And the doors that were locked to Trump to go in there and really look are now opened, and in some cases kicked open. You have Russell Vough, who is now confirmed as OBM, Office of Budget Management. That's a biggie. Trump has now some very, very strong people sitting in positions where he will have gladly go, government employee Musk, welcome. The information is yours to look at. In this department, in this department, in this department, any place where their hands go, Musk is going to be right behind them. And there's nothing that the courts can do about that. You can take it to the courts. You could ask, they can fight it. Courts are going to end up saying it's the heads of those agencies is allowing it, and under Senate approval and confirmation, good luck to you. Another one that Trump is also targeting, of course, transgender inmates. Man is a man, woman is a woman. You go that way. No more special deals. All right? Then, of course, in this whole thing, Pennsylvania Democrat, which I think that he will be switching parties shortly. John Fetterman agreed that his party brand has grown toxic. After years of shaming and scolding voters and even questioning if the Democrats can even turn that around now. And, he said he acknowledges the Democratic Party knows what damage has been done. And Fetterman said it was done by his own party. This wasn't done by outside people. This was his own party doing this. And I've said before, just keep on calling me stupid because I oppose you, and ignorant and uneducated. Just keep calling me stupid. All right? How'd that work out for you? How did calling me stupid and uneducated, how'd that work out for you? Because I'll tell you right now, I'm not stupid, and I'm pretty highly educated. And because I did not click my heels to your agenda. Yeah. You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you lose huge in the midterms. Because the midterms are going to nail the coffin shut for you guys in 2028 for Vance. You don't even have a game plan. You took David Hogg, made him vice chair. A guy who is fighting to make all drugs legal in the United States. You talk about hurting your brand? Yeah. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. You guys are brilliant. Brilliant. Out of the New Republic, little article, there may be enough Supreme Court votes to save the government. Well, I didn't know the government needed saving. Seems to be running all right. Seems to me that if you want to challenge, that has been stopped, has been proven in the last week. So I think the government is doing just fine. And William Eskridge and Brian Slocum and Kevin Toilet, said that the Supreme Court could vote, to stop a lot of these executive orders. Yeah, they could. They won't, because they're executive orders, and they conform to what the president is allowed to do. Okay? Yep. That's what happens when you lose a race. You got a winner, and you got a loser. And I said the DOGE. Yeah, Trump is right online, and now that Vough is in charge with that, I doubt if the Supreme Court will even hear the argument. And if it does reach it, they'll kick it back down to a lower court and tell the lower court, you got to look at this again because you guys got it wrong. You got it wrong. Now, if they do it and then it goes back up, then the Supreme Court will rule in Trump's favor. All right. I promised you, and there'll be more dodged later on in this thing. And now, for a different story. Democrat. Got to pick on Democrats, though I pick on Republicans, believe me. Republican out of Tennessee who wanted to get Trump a third term. What a waste of time. Stop it, knucklehead. We're not changing the 22nd Amendment. Just telling you, not happening. And that's me telling a Republican, not going to happen. You got no support, you're going to be laughed at. But this one is a Democrat, and she's a state representative. Told a rally at the Capitol in Michigan Wednesday that she went and had sterilization surgery to prevent her from becoming pregnant during the Trump administration. Well, okay. I know there's a lot of things going around, viruses and influenzas and stuff like that. There's only a few ways I know how to get pregnant. I can't get pregnant. And I can't, I'm a man, get pregnant. But I sure know how the process works. Told the crowd, and she told the crowd that 2 weeks prior to Wednesday, she had this surgery. And as she said, she was mulling it over for some time. So she was doing it. She was thinking about this when Biden was in office. And she said she wanted to say it out loud so other women can take a look at what she did. Because she feels that there won't be birth control available in the future. And that, this was her way of doing it. I grant you, it was the nuclear option as far as I'm concerned. I might have waited around till I saw the tea leaves, and the tea leaves certainly are not there to say birth control rights will be restricted. I just don't see it happening. So it seems a little drastic, but her body, have at it. And she said she's been getting a lot of emails and stuff on X and whatever social media she is going on. And she said calls it catastrophizing themselves, meaning that this isn't as bad as it sounds. Don't think of it as something as bad as it sounds. And she said she's being called a whack job, and her decision, the people are saying that's part of the Trump derangement syndrome. The fact that so many conservative men take personal offense to a decision that I made with my husband about my health care and future just proves the point that we shouldn't assume the right is secure. Okay. So, because I might have an infection on my foot, the possibility is there that it could happen. So I'm cutting my leg off. And then I don't have to worry about if there's an infection on my toe. And I wrote this, that I'm a conservative male. And I'm surprised she used gender-correct identification in this case when she said conservative males. And I'm fine with ending her gene line. I'm perfectly okay with that, as is her choice. But she does know that President Trump can only serve 4 more years, right? It seems so final, what she did, that I have to question her sensibilities. All right, we can laugh about that, because obviously she has some issues that she dealt with in a manner that she felt appropriate for her. She didn't hurt anyone. She didn't violate the law. And that is her right. ABC News. This is about ICE. How they got a message at 5:45 a.m. on Wednesday. Get ready. And our team watched as dozens of agents from 6 different federal law enforcement agencies went door to door at multi-building apartment complexes in southwest Denver, displaying a significant change in the aggressiveness of our country's immigration enforcement. You think? Think that's breaking news? Now, ABC, they did not get in the way of enforcement. They just knew where they were going to be and went there and didn't interfere. They observed and reported, which is perfectly fine, and that is exactly what the news is supposed to do. observe, and report. So, good for them. And they said that they watched as suspected undocumented immigrants accused of, now, I don't know where they get this from, but unless it was reported to them after the raids, of having illegal drugs and gun trafficking. And they said, we watched one DEA-led pre-dawn raid at a house in Denver suburbs of Brighton, yield at least 3 people we were told were suspected cartel members. And we watched agents walk out of the house with multiple bags and assault rifles as alleged evidence. And the government said, this is what we're going to do. We're targeting those criminal elements. Anyone have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with the government going after the criminal element? I mean, if you do, I'd love to hear from you. I can't see any person who says that, criminals should be allowed to roam the streets. And you can turn around and say, well, some criminals, you're talking to Jaywalker, he's a criminal. We're talking someone that is smoking a joint. Those people should be locked up. Well, the law says that they can be in violation of the law. It doesn't mean they get locked up, but they can get cited and then have to appear in court. So I think you have to look at how this is being done. And I'll just use an example, and I'll use me. I'm driving down the road, 65, in a 55. The police pull me over. And we banter back and forth. Do you know how fast you were going? Nope, no idea. Do you want to guess? I don't have my crystal ball in front of me, so I'm not guessing. So, I am now classified as being detained. The officer would then tell me why I'm being detained. Well, I clocked you at 65. Okay. Then he is allowed then to ask me to identify myself with a license and registration and everything else. Can I just show it to him through the window? And he takes the information down? Yes, I can do that. He could also ask that I hand it to him. And that's a request. I could turn around and go, I'll show you. So, now I'm detained. Now he's going to go back to his vehicle and run me through. See if that name comes up, if the car comes up, if anything comes up that would then escalate the stop. Now, they come back. He hands me because I gave it to him. He will hand it back to me, or he'll confiscate it and arrest me. These are the two definite scenarios. Comes back and he can do 2 things after that. Hand everything back, and he could go, hey, listen, keep it at 55, please. And, drive safe. This is a busy road. And have a good day. Or he could go, you're driving 65, I'm giving you a ticket. Here you go. You acknowledge you got the ticket. That's not an admission of guilt. It's just acknowledge that he gave you a ticket. You've been detained. You've been told what the infraction is. I had no criminal outstanding issues. And he goes, either pay the fine, instructions over there, or look and you'll see a court date and you can go there and speak to the judge and I'll be there. And he goes, keep it 55. You have a good day. Thank you. Bye. And off I go. There is a procedure for that. And there's also a time frame of how long they can keep you on that side of that road. So, always know your rights. But if it's just a traffic ticket, if you weren't speeding, then you could tell them, hey, I know if you asked me how fast I was going 40, not 65. And he goes, well, I clocked you at 65. All right, but I'm telling you, I was doing 40. So that is now on the record. Just as if he goes, hey, I pulled you over. You know how fast you were driving? Yeah, I was doing 65. All right, you just admitted to a violation. And at that point, that triggers other things. So now he could say, hey, you look around your car, and might pique his interest a little bit. And then other things can happen. So that's why most lawyers will just tell you, no, I'm not sure how fast I was going. So the backlash on this was that there was a radio station in San Francisco, and I reported this the other day, KCBS, not part of the CBS family, but just the call letters. They kept the call letters. We're giving out street by street intel on where ICE was. And I think that violates their FCC mandate for their license, and their license should be pulled as a maximum penalty. All right. The other thing, and we got just wrapping it up here because it's going to be a quick one because it's Super Bowl. And as you can see, I'm not sniffling as bad. I'm feeling better. I'm tired. Whatever I had, and if you have a cold that won't go away, and sniffling and bronchial. Now, I didn't see a doctor. I self-medicated because I have, after 9/11, and even before 9/11, I had go bags, antibiotics, medical, and I came from a household, my dad was a doctor, and Dad always had this stuff stashed away, and he was always prepared. Always prepared. Thank you, Dad, for instilling being prepared. Okay. The other thing in the news, CNN and the Washington Post are getting their offices booted from the Pentagon. So, they will no longer have an office at the Pentagon. And there's a whole bunch of them. The NBC, NPR, Politico, the New York Times would be rotated out of the Pentagon press corps in favor of Owen Breitbart, HuffPost, and the New York Post. So those people are in, those other people are out. And really, it doesn't mean that they're banned or anything like that. What it means is normally you had a little cubbyhole, small little office where you could keep dedicated supplies and a camera, a router, a little switcher or something. You could pool feed, you could take things out, and you didn't have to. You didn't have to send a full crew over there. You could just send one guy, and he could set it all up, or maybe two guys, the correspondent and what we would call a utility person, and set that all up. But in reality, nowadays, if you took a look at how it's done, they are all holding this up. They have great cell phones, so if you're a little shaky, it automatically stabilizes and you get a good shot, and you'll get the feed. So the idea of needing office space and everything, it makes it very convenient. And mostly if it's going to be like, we're going to be there for 5 days or 6 days, and we got to lug our equipment there. At the end of whatever they're thinking, you can take it back into your little cubby hole, put it in there, and shut the door, lock it, and it'd be there in the morning. Whereas now, CNN and the Washington Post will have to lug their stuff off property. So, the Washington Post, CNN, The Hill, and the War Zone will be swapped out for the Washington Examiner, Newsmax, the Free Press, and the Daily Caller, respectively. Most of these will be conservative-leaning news organizations, with the exception of Huff Post, who is one step above the beast. But it doesn't mean that those other people are excluded. You just have to bring your equipment in, or your cell phone, or whatever. And what a lot do, like the big three, we called them, ABC, NBC, CBS. They'd pool. They'd have one feed, fixed camera on it, and you all share it. Then, Fox did it, and CNN would do it, and everyone would kind of play nice in the pool, as it was called. It was very rare if you had everyone setting up their own camera, because you just didn't have the room. Very limited space. So 8 media companies got shuffled out. All right? So, and of course, they reported, with the exception of HuffPost, all the outlets lean conservative and pro-Trump, and the majority of the incoming outlets are significantly smaller than the ones they're replacing. Well, it's true. They're not lying. And that is factual. And it's like my reports, 24 pages that I reference back. I do that every show. Try to read. Check. And the only one that I have found so far where it was, I'm pretty sure it was NBC, had a thing on YouTube that said Trump loses Supreme Court ruling, and about some of these his executive actions, and I'm like, no, that's wrong. It hasn't seen the Supreme Court yet. These are federal judges stepping in and going, hey, there's a suit. We're going to look at it. We're going to answer it. But again, I did not read the whole story, because the minute I saw that, I knew that this was a mistake. Was it done on purpose, or just someone didn't check and just got it out the door as quick as they could? I mean, because, mistakes can happen. That type of mistake, you have a producer, an editor, and everyone else looking at it, and it just shows sloppiness. And that was on YouTube, which, like me, I'm out there. You can fact check me, and you might find that I made a mistake or said the wrong thing, and that's fine. I don't mind that. I don't mind being called out. As a matter of fact, I like being called out, because then I can say, no, these are the facts, or yeah, I looked at it, yeah, oops. I would make a retraction, but that's it. That's the way it should work. You shouldn't blatantly lie and then go, did anyone catch me? No, they can make mistakes, but when you blatantly lie or you manipulate the news, that's where I said I'd talk about my old alma mater. When you manipulate, see, that's a bad thing. You're, like scientists taking an orange and creating a Franken orange. Well, it was an orange at one time, but now it's not. I don't know what you call it. And when you start playing around with the news, and mostly in the manner in which they did that, you lose all credibility. And, the big three have a credibility problem, or the big five have a credibility problem with a lot of people. And this doesn't help. And, like I said, you should observe and report. They should have played the whole Harris speech, her interview, as it was done. And whenever I see this is going to be taped, and, I don't care if it's Fox doing it or, Morning Joe doing it. Am I seeing the show? Am I seeing that interview as the whole interview? Where they should have a clock behind it. So you could see, all of a sudden the hands are moving around on the clock. That, this has been edited, or this has been put, what happened 2 minutes ago. But, so accountability. This is all about accountability. And we have seemed to have lost our way on being accountable. And I have said this before. Facts are facts, and I don't have to be happy about the facts. But I think we have a right to know them. And, and even if she did that interview and the guy said, it's going out in this manner, and it was a terrible interview, let's say, maybe she has the right to go, I don't want you showing that interview. And where the news outlet said, we were going to present you an interview that we did with X. I'm not saying X as in formerly Twitter, but the person X. And they consulted with us and requested that we do not show that interview. So out of the respect to our guest, we will not show that interview. And they said we will not comment on why. You may go to X and ask them, but they've asked us not to show the interview. Okay. I would accept that. And then we can go and ask why. And the ex could have gone, wasn't on my game. It wasn't the questions. I just was all over the page. And I was tired. It just wasn't on my game. All right. You know, they're human too. They could be tired. They could have a cold. They could have a headache. So I'm fine with that. I would have been fine, absolutely fine with that. They've had no problems showing other candidates almost in the raw. So we knew what this was all about. CBS knows what it was all about. ABC knew what it was all about. And CNN knows what it's all about. So we're getting tired of it. All right. With that, I'm going to say good night. And this is actually it's about 11:30. Let me see. I'll look. 11:49. A little bit longer than I would want to stay up here doing this, but well, that's the way it happened. The gist is that they're going to be fighting Trump, and we knew that. We knew that. All right, everyone, be well. Like I said, this is going up. I should be done editing this by about 1 o'clock today, and then it goes up. Go Redskins. I don't care if they cheat. It should be a good game. So everyone, please say a prayer to the victims. There's a lot of victims out there. Say a prayer that Hamas releases the hostages. We've seen some of those pictures, and I'm not willing to go there yet, only because I'm more interested in our problems. But say a prayer. Say a prayer for all our victims. Give to charities. Some charities are going to need it because their funding is going to be cut off. And some of those are good charities. And, we got to look and make this as minimal as possible to groups that really do help people. And I'm all for helping our citizens. But in the sense of giving them food, shelter, medical, mental health, in those senses, not making sure that they can dance the way they want to dance, or wear clothes or their hair the way they want to wear it. They can already do that. I don't have to pay for that. All right. Good night. God bless. Donate to a registered charity. Those charities will not come to you. You must go to them. Do not become a victim helping a victim. And with that, I'm going to fade to black.